his yacht. So David's on his yacht. He can't
David's on
be
the yacht
bothered with
now.
us. Yeah, David's cruising the
That's
Mediterranean.
nice.
He can't be bothered with us. He's something about the Nazi from Venezuela. I didn't catch the whole story on that. But there was an article this morning, which I thought was pretty funny. The AFB German football team doesn't want any of whatever members on it because one of the quotes from one of the players goes is, "I don't want to shower with any Nazis." I was like, well, that's nice.
Oh, no.
So it's in the FT this morning, it literally just came out, and then apparently somebody in Sudan, we took the capital, and I was like, oh, there's the breaking news on the live show. So if you boys are ready, we'll actually do the fun stuff and run the credits. What do you think?
Let's
John, you
run
ready?
it.
Yeah.
All right, John's sleeping. All right, John.
Yeah,
Good to see you, John. Glad you're here.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, where we talk about business, and not just business. We talk about what makes businesses go up and what makes businesses go down. If you're interested in businesses, this is where it is. We talk about the global economy. We talk about global politics. We talk about everything and anything business related that affects your life on a global scale as well as a local scale. And don't miss after the show, Lost and Found. Here we are back, as they say, live. So, hey,
it's good to be live. It's good to be running live. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. And Michael Collins' little shorts have done very well.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I mean,
we still have more to put out. Yeah.
Talking about the trade war that continues. That did well. And it turns out, as part of one of the topics today, JD Vance was blasting globalization. He was lambasting globalization. And that's part of what Michael Collins does every time, talking about the faltering of American manufacturing and how design goes offshore once you offshore the manufacturing capability. So Michael Collins, very prescient.
Yeah, but here's the funny thing about Michael. Michael, though, gives it in a nice, how do I put it, a nice, succinct A through Z. JD Vance just kind of, right? JD Vance just kind of speaks from his ass. So, but I mean, and just to say this, I like globalization. I'm all for it, just because the leaders of our industry, not the government just goes and whoever pays them off that week does what they're told. But the leaders of the industry, because of the pressure of the people, the stakeholders, the shareholders wanted more.
Yeah.
And they went and they decided, hey, we have to offshore because we're going to save money and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. But you can't
short-sighted.
All right. You can't fault globalization. That is an American problem because of greed. And if we said, you know what, we can make some things offshore, but we're going to keep most of everything here to keep America strong, industrial, technological.
Right, that would have
been okay. But no, everyone was like, oh, let's put it like Apple. Everything's at Foxconn. Okay, that's great. Everything's at Foxconn. So now when Trump yells at you, you can't. You can't because you guys caused your own demise and your own problem. And I don't think they look at it that way.
That's what's ultimately sad about it is that Michael Collins wrote about his own journey in helping to engage the manufacturing industry and in offshoring in part. And I mean, a lot of it was, maybe all of it was mostly self-inflicted. We talked about corporate piracy, and we'll talk about corporate espionage later on today. But yeah, I mean, yes, I believe that a lot of it was self-inflicted. Even if you think of bad actors abroad trying to steal technology, ultimately, it was the American companies that were allowing it.
Yeah, and because greed. If they didn't. Because that's all it is. It's just no one thinks past tomorrow. Well, nowadays you can't because of the internet, right? The CEOs and everybody and the boards have to worry about, am I going to keep my job, which is a bad way to be. So everything has to be, today's Thursday, what's going to happen at noon? You know what I mean? Like if a CEO is too long in the bathroom, they're already like, he's dead, he's going to die.
Right.
We have to watch him go, time for a new CEO, right? It's the same with Elon's company. Not that I feel bad that they lost in the last 30 days, 800 billion in market value. Yeah, I could care less. And now he's only worth like 200 billion. So he's poor. I can't even talk to him now. I see him at the club. I'm like, you're too poor. You can't be with us. Go away. But it's because of all this. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's just take a breath. Shareholders want to make money. I'm a shareholder. I own companies. I own stock in companies. Yes, I want to make money. But I tell everybody, I want you to think. And I've learned this since I was a kid because
Well,
I've always studied
that's
China.
the first problem. You want them to think, but
I know that's a big issue. But because I've studied China since I was a kid, I've always been
yeah,
fascinated with China.
yeah.
I look at them in Japan, and Toyota had their 100-year plan to be the number one car company in the year. I think it was 1990 something, and they started that in 1890 something. China looks at the 1,000-year thing. So I've always thought like that. So I'm surprised when people only think about tomorrow. It's like when I would run companies and people go, "What's your 90-day plan?" I go, "My 90-day plan? Fucking 90-day plan. Where do you want to be in 10 years?" Because
Mm,
past that, they can't think, or they can't pass 90 days. And they tell you, I'm like, okay, why don't we work backwards from that? Then we'll work on a 90-day plan. They just like,
yeah.
really? I'm like, well, that's how you grow.
Yeah, but it's a work of imagination. Is that's what it requires, and
Yeah.
real knowledge of the company and the industry and where you want to have real vision.
Right.
And I know that doesn't just come naturally to a lot of people.
Hence why we have the problems we have today. And that's why Trump, Merrick, great, all that bull, never happening until you have CEOs and shareholders and stakeholders and board members who take a breath and go, I'm going to pick on Chase. It's great that we give Jamie Dimon $36 million a year, and he's done very well. But where do we go from here, Jamie? Because right now, all these banks and whatever, like investment banks, they're all the oldest profession. I've said it before. All you have to do is be a whore and lay there, and you're going to make money by mistake in a banking industry. But that's going to change at some point. And then how do you make money? It's like the manufacturers found out the hard way. How do you make money? Like if I was Ford or General Motors or whoever, I'd be talking to BYD and say,
Mm,
hey, let's do a strategic partnership like
right.
tomorrow, because together we can build the best electric cars. In fact, one of the stories I'm going to talk about today on Lost and Found is BYD's new battery. And it puts everyone to shame globally, including the Nazi car company. And for those that don't know, the Nazi car company, that is Tesla. So
Oh boy.
it was in the FT. It's phenomenal, and I'm like, wow. I mean, so my thing is, nobody seems to think out of their little world. And what I always liked was when I would go, someone said, "Go fix our company," and I didn't know the space, I would learn the space. But because I'm not rooted in the space, I come with different ideas and different ideas
Yeah,
work. And so a
yeah.
lot of these people, they'll be like, John, Michael, you don't know XYZ space. You've never been in it. You can't do anything. You guys will do a better job running it than the idiot that's been there 50 years because that's all he knows. And
Right,
without
right.
other experience, you can't run stuff. And I think that's part of the issue with the boards today, people that are running companies today, the C-suite, the
Well,
man, everybody.
is it because it's a safer bet to go with somebody who's so-called experienced? Is that what they're doing? They're playing it safe, or they're just not creative enough to say, yes, someone with a variety of experiences is going to bring an advantageous perspective.
Both. I think it's both. I think they're afraid because they are like, you don't know. And like we've talked about this, and John's familiar with this. When I did the largest RE deal in the world, and I met I'm not going to go through the whole story, but my buddy was like, I know the president of such and such country. And I said, great, we have this fund. And he's like, cool. And they said, the indigenous people of the country want to do something in carbon credits. I'm like, great. He said, why don't we do the red? I'm like, red, we're going to do a color? We're going to paint the forest? I didn't know what red was. So I had to learn about red. I had a
Mhm.
week before I went down there. And I learned all about it. And I met with the UN and all these people. They're like, "Ooh, how long have you been doing this?" And thinking to myself, about 8 hours. And they're like, I knew as much as they did. If you really want to know something, you can immerse yourself in the subject matter. And I think the problem is that it's a good old boys/girls network. So it's like, Michael, we're looking for a new CEO. Remember John, but let's get John.
Right, right.
Now, he may not be the best or the most qualified,
But
but we
he's a
like him,
known
we know him,
quantity.
and
Yeah,
he's safe. And I think that's the problem with industry, not just in the United States, but globally. If you don't take a chance, you don't grow. You know what I mean? You can have, if you don't want, he's your CEO. You can have a CEO, a COO who's been there for 100 years.
right,
Great.
right.
And if there's a mistake, you go, dude, here's why we don't do that. You go, okay, but can we tweak it? Like there's always things you can do better. And these people that have been in the same space for so long, they're just unimaginative. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Well,
big deal.
the role of the CEO, wasn't it always to be a visionary, but isn't it
Mhm.
now more to also be a personality and to
I
be
forget.
out,
Yeah.
to be a cheerleader in the public.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a different role than just being the person who's running the vision of the company and helping the company to organize itself.
Yeah, I think part of that started with like you at Packer as well as Jack Welch.
Jack
Back in the day,
Welch,
you at
for
yeah,
sure.
but
Yeah.
you at Packer though. Think about you at Packer, right? They were the company, right? And then
Mm,
you had Jack Welch, who, if you will, turned GE into what it was before. These new guys have killed it. But
right.
Jack Welch was a personality. Like when you said General Electric or GE, the first thing you thought of was not good things to life or your refrigerator. You thought, oh, Jack Welch. Like that was it. Like, and today, when you say Apple, you really don't think of Tim Cook or any of these. I think Steve Jobs and
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
buddy. I got a little fat guy with
Although
the beard.
you gotta think of Tim Cook these days because man, he tripled the valuation of that company.
But did he, or did he inherit something that was going to do it anyway? See,
That's a
that's
fair point.
right. And with Microsoft, when I think Microsoft, I think two people, Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer.
Steve
And
Ballmer.
without Steve Ballmer, who had no experience, and he did what he did, and that goes to my point. Look what
He
Steve
knew
Ballmer did.
developers were the answer.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is if, all these people that go, oh, we need this, we need that. Maybe you guys need to start looking outside your little whatever. Like, I don't know the guy who's running Microsoft now, nor do I care. Because
Satya
Microsoft,
Nadella.
good for
Yeah.
you. And there's a pill for that. You'll feel better. But I'm just saying, when you think of these companies, it's like the personalities, like Nike, you don't really think of Phil Knight. You just think Michael Jordan, Nike, right?
Mhm.
But it's when you start thinking of different companies, it's now, to your point, it's like Louis Vuitton. You don't really think of anybody. It's just Louis Vuitton. You know what I mean? It's like, it's all this stuff. So if companies now are going to be people, for lack of a better term, and personalities, you need the problem is if I'm a CEO, as much as social media is great, I don't have time to sit there and record 10,000 things. So you need then to have a savvy PR person that's full time with you on your side
Right,
and go
right.
look, and make sure everything you like, if you need to be out there. And you also need to sit down, in your 100-hour work week, and you need to figure out how to run your company. Not today. Today's easy. That's what you have COO for and all this other crap. But you need to say 10 years from now, what do
That's
I
right.
think? And I don't think any of them really do that. I mean, I've been in board meetings of companies where I know they don't do that because they're worried about next quarter. And I'm like,
Mm,
dude, if you get fired, it's okay. You have to prepare your stakeholders for down the road. And I think a lot of these companies are going to be in for a global rude awakening, not just because of Trump, just in general, because they've relied too much on we're America. Good for
mm.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, what
relied
do
on
I
the
know?
momentum as opposed to their actual innovation
Right.
and capabilities. What do you think, John? You've been pretty quiet so far.
Yeah, no, just look, we've talked about this before, right? The boards, short-term thinking, yeah, go for the easy buck,
Right.
uh, send, you know, uh, manufacturing overseas. We'll keep the engineering, and that I don't know where they got that concept, but it's been failing for quite a long time, but yet
Right.
we don't see a reversal of that. Now, of course, the reversal, bringing back jobs here is a lot more difficult than shipping them overseas because now uh, we don't have the people with the skills, uh,
Hmm.
and so it's a much bigger uphill battle. Probably a lot more costly, short term also to bring those jobs.
Right.
I remember reading that when we had the Biden, what was it, the internet, the infrastructure bill, I forget what it was named,
Right.
and
The
Chinese,
Inflation Reduction Act or yeah.
yeah, they're building, well, they've built uh, a fab here in Arizona. I think it was in New Mexico, and okay, I don't know if it was if they were exaggerating because they wanted to bring their own people, but they were complaining that they couldn't find the skilled people to build the factory. Um,
I see that. I can see
Yeah,
that.
that was in Phoenix, Arizona. Right.
Yeah, and so they brought over 1,000, Taiwanese workers to
Right.
either build and to also train locals.
Yeah.
So
So it's a reverse.
yeah, so and now we're talking about CEOs that need to be personalities. I mean, yeah, okay, you can be a little bit of a personality for your annual sales show in
Mhm.
front of but Jesus, we don't need uh, super media savvy people. Just do your job. I mean, if, it's not all sales that a CEO has to do. I mean, if that's all he is, then we're paying them a hell of a lot more than they deserve to, and maybe that
I mean,
role needs to be changed.
yeah, I mean, what do you think of Jensen Huang at Nvidia? I mean, he's definitely a personality, but he is in the trenches every day
Yeah,
with his team. He knows the product. He knows
That's old
every.
school. That's old school. That's
yeah,
Yeah,
old school CEO. It's you could be a personality and still be in the trenches. That's an old school CEO. But unfortunately, to John's point, about 20 years ago, when I was a CFO of a company, I remember that we had to go to media training with our law firm because you're like, oh, you're in the C-suite. You never know when you're going to have to be like, they prep you to be a personality.
right.
So it started when between Facebook and TikTok, blah, blah, blah. So they're prepping you like you're going to be a personality. So if you need an old school CEO, listen, to get up in front of talking in front of people or on the news is no big deal, right? Running a company, that's a big deal. And John's talking about we don't have the people that are training, and then what? Yesterday, or the day before, Trump's trying to get rid of the Department of Education. I'm not really sure what they do. But I mean, does that mean now we're not going to have vocational schools, or we're not going to teach kids? Are we literally just going to have a society of idiots? Or are they just hoping they're going to implant them with a chip and they just know everything? So you're not going to have anybody that can build a factory like you need, if you will. Like John's talking about, like what they TMC or whatever from Taiwan was coming over. They had to bring their people because their people do this every day. I mean, the construction workers here, if you watch them build a house, the three of us could build the house. I mean, it's not that I've watched them. It's literally nothing. Pour some cement, throw some shit up, and you're done. And that's it. I mean, it
If it
really
were
is.
yes, if it were only that
I,
easy. Yes.
unfortunately, I see what they're doing here and in other places, and it is, unless you're doing 3D printing, maybe it's a little more difficult, or if you're building, with real brick. But the crap they put together now with the
The
rock, and I'm
modern,
just
yeah,
the
modern,
modern home,
like
right? If we were
ticky
building,
tack home.
if we were building a house from like the 1960s or 70s, no, the three of us
Different
couldn't
story.
build it to save our lives. If we had to build the modern house today, you and
Right.
I, the
It's
three of us could put it up in a
matchstick,
week. Yeah, take a day, like,
matchsticks
okay,
and
yeah,
plywood.
boom, boom, done. I've seen them. It's like really, it's done in 3 days. Okay. So they're all
I wonder
crap.
who the best. I wonder what builders are out there that actually build homes like they should be built. Solid as they were in the past.
I think that's a custom made home. And I think those guys aren't like the public toll brother type companies. I think those are
Yeah.
people you have to search out and find in your neighborhood and go, I want all brick. I want this. I want that. And they probably have to go then find somebody, or at least have a guy that's 700 years old that knows how to lay the brick. Because I would think today they don't have. I remember in the day watching bricklayers, fascinated by like what they could do was just fascinating. Today, these guys are like boom, boom, boom with some wooden nails. I'm like, okay, great. I built a tree house for it when I was a kid, just like that. So, it's like these
Yeah.
houses aren't made to stand. They're just made to last for 10 or 20 years and fall apart. That's America. Make something for 5 or 10 or 20 years, let it fall apart. It's a POS. We take no pride anymore in what we do. Our CEOs don't give a shit because they're getting 50, 60, 100 million a year plus bonus, plus this, plus that. They don't care. And the American people are pussies and they don't say anything because they're sheep. They put their head in the sand and they're ostriches. And it's pathetic. So until we start demanding more and better, I remember the Maytag commercials. Maytag would last forever. Maytag
Yeah.
lasts a week and a half like everybody else now. There was something about saying we build a really good product. And you know
Yeah.
what? If you want
That's
our,
what we have to get back to. Right.
we
Pride in
got,
your actual work.
and we don't. And now that like I said, I don't know what the Department of Ed does, and I know the states. I mean, like I pity some of these like kids in Louisiana and Mississippi and whatever. I don't know what they're going to learn. I'm assuming New York City will keep a good Department of Education for the state, but what are we going to teach them? I mean, like nothing, unless they were, like I said, we're putting implants in everybody and they're just going to be geniuses overnight. So America has a lot to do to get itself, JD Vance complaining about globalization. He should look inward. Globalization just made it easier for companies to make money.
But the root of the problem is still the shareholders and still this overemphasis on next day profits as opposed to long-term success.
Correct. And that's because nobody's ever taught them. Everything in our society now is yesterday, now. Even when you go to a nice restaurant and, they're cooking the meal in the back, it could be a Michelin star restaurant. People at the table after 5 minutes are like, where's our food? I'm like, you realize they cook it fresh. Like, they're going to go catch the fish. So you may be here 30 or 40. So they all want McDonald's, and it's like, that's not the world, man. The world is, it's okay. And the problem and America's downfall, as much as Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk and all their little band of goofballs with the little things on their shoulders want to go run and do, will not fix anything because they're not fixing the systemic problem. And until you fix that problem, everything you do is just putting the Band-Aid on the dike. And I've met dikes and they do like Band-Aids. However, not this time. It's not gonna help them. So yeah, or you can put your finger in the dike, but that's a whole nother story for a Dutch show. Anyway, so that's kind of where we are, I think, on that. What do I know? Like I said, I'm just a finance guy. I don't know nothing. So,
do we want to run a commercial at this point?
Yeah, let's run a commercial.
Into our robotics conversation.
This will be fun.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club.
Yeah, I'm gonna run one more commercial just because we haven't run this one in a while, and it's not these guys, the like people. It's a different one that's our own. All right, I just had to do that. I figured, who doesn't want a T-shirt with us on it?
Yeah.
We want the T-shirt. People want the T-shirt. Give me the merch.
The merch. You guys have coffee mugs. You guys have.
No, we have the mug. I'm not at a place where I have the mug, but I do have the mug.
I actually have the sweatshirt from Rusty's Art, which is the creation of David, which is that painting right there behind me. It's on a hoodie, and when it's cold, I wear the hoodie out just for fun. And you see people double look because they're like, "Is that the guy in the hoodie?" And then I've had people go, "Where'd you get it?" And I told them about it, and we've sold probably about 30 of those. And I thought that was pretty funny. So I haven't bumped into me yet, but David goes, "We sold these." I'm like, "Cool." So we do sell those, and I just think those are pretty funny that people buy the hoodie with us on it, doing the creation of. We call it the creation of David. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And what can I tell you? All right, let's talk about robots. Nobody cares about our merch.
Well, look, Nvidia, the big AI company, demonstrated a new humanoid robot, which is running this software model that basically lets it be a general robot. You can give it, there you go, fireworks for sure. You can give it a task, and I wish we could. I don't know if we can play it, but you can give it a task like tidying up a room, and it'll do it autonomously. And that's the important thing, is that it's going to be helpful in very controlled situations like your home or a factory or an office. Part of the argument was autonomous vehicles, and Morgan Stanley was saying this. Autonomous vehicles, the idea of robots driving all of our cars, is actually a more difficult problem than having robots in the home where the environment is safe, controlled, you know what's going on. Whereas on the road, it's dynamic, it's in the environment, it's much more difficult. So Jensen Huang, the CEO, was saying the age of generalist robotics is here. Now, Nvidia's stock immediately went down after that announcement for some reason, but I think the content of it is still pretty significant, especially given that the model called Groot N1, the model that they use to program these robots, is something that is open to. I don't know if it's open source. Is it open source? But it's let me see. It's yeah. I mean, it's the architecture that Nvidia is using, so it's not open source. But people who use it are companies like Boston Dynamics. You know, the ones that made those dog robots. The robot dogs. Yeah,
those dogs.
So a lot of people are using this to try it out.
I think it'll be great. You know,
John's ready. He wants it now.
John wants it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if in a small apartment, but you know, when you're old, you know, it might be a little crowded. But yeah, if you're an old person, can you imagine that? You know, if you can get a robot to maybe,
I mean, you, John, old person,
right?
Clean
You know, I think you know, cook for you would be a good, a good activity to take over, because, you know, I mean, old people, you know, they get into trouble, right? They start little fires, and then, you know, the relatives or the kids say, well, now we got to put you in a home because you're not safe. I mean, if you have a robot, I think it would be, you know, it would help a lot.
Well, you guys are too young to remember this, but back in the 80s, Neiman Marcus used to come out with their Christmas catalog. And they sold a robot for $25,000. And that robot could go to your refrigerator and get you whatever you wanted to drink or eat and bring it to you on a tray like a butler. That was what you paid $25,000 for. It was very cool. So this basically is a updated version of that robot. Now, I don't know if it's really going to clean and vacuum. It's going to be, I think you have to see how big the robot is. So even whether it's a small apartment or a big house,
it's human size.
So you have to be able to maneuver.
The Neo Gamma, they call it, you should Google it, the Neo Gamma 1X, they're calling it. It's not just designed to work, you know, and do the labor, but it's also supposedly designed to bring warmth and personality to your home. So it's designed so this robot is designed for companionship, they're saying. And but for some people that will be sufficient for companionship.
Can it play Go and chess?
It can probably it can at least make the attempt.
Okay.
I mean, it could probably do anything that any other AI can do. So it can talk, it can collaborate, it can tutor, it says.
Yeah, but so you're sitting there. Let's say John's sitting with his AI because Ruth's out shopping, and now John's stressed because he's home alone. You know, like the kids and the burglars are coming. No, so he's home alone, and he says to the AI robot, "How's life going?" Is the AI robot going to say to John, "Life is great, John," or is it going to have to now search through the internet? And if the internet's down, as it usually is at John's house, it can't talk to John. But if it's not down, it can go out to the internet and get everything. Then is it going to be able to say, John, everything is great. How are you? I mean, like, is it going to have that kind of
right. What happens when the internet's down? Is it autonomous?
It goes down. It's kind of yeah.
Why, is it plugged into the internet?
Well, maybe it has its own internet.
I don't know.
Would have to something. Yeah, there's a few. I like the concept of it. I have a few questions because, like, if I say, now my mom's passed, so I can't use it for her. But if she was alive and go, hey, robot, make sure you take care of my mom. You cook, you clean, and I can see how she's doing with the robot. But if, like, the internet goes out, the robot then becomes useless. If the power goes out, like, because South Florida used to have hurricanes and it can't recharge itself once, and it's kind of useless. So to me, it would be like, so how do you charge? How often do you charge? And how do you stay connected, not just to the person in the home or the people in the home to be this loving companion, whatever crap.
Well,
how do you stay connected to me, the kid?
It's not only going to be it's not only going to be a robot companion, but maybe in a way it'll be a spy, because it has to be connected to the internet to have the advanced reasoning that you want it to have. So it's not going to run these complex models locally yet. maybe sometime in the future, but
I see Chinese cyber attacks coming. This is going to be awesome.
yeah, right. And you can do it at scale. You know, when everybody's house has one of these things, forget about it.
Yeah.
No, but you'll have
Yeah,
a little remote that with a kill switch go it'll
Well,
stop.
well, you better hope so, because if the kill switch is on it, it's going to be difficult to get it.
Yeah, no. It
yeah,
has to
you
be a
got to
little
be a
remote
button or
sort of,
something. Yeah.
you know, like the senior sort of thing where they have a
Right.
gizmo that calls 911. You know, the
Yeah.
next button will be kill switch to the robot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
No, but I think you know, from a companionship, you're absolutely right. You know, you talk to this little thing, and it, you know, it answers back, and it sort of.
Yep.
I think it's got a lot of promise in my book.
I agree. I think it's just time,
Yeah.
because there's a little one about, I don't know, 15, 16 inches tall that Amazon that has like an iPad face, and it can do facial expressions, but it can also go around the house and look. It can't do anything, but it can like talk to you and do whatever. So on a smaller version, that's it. When you start putting in life-size autonomous things in your home, you got to make sure that it knows, like, don't hurt the human, don't hurt the dog, don't hurt the cat, don't hurt
Right.
the golf. I mean, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to program into that, because if
Yeah,
the
but
dog spooks it, you know,
yeah, right. But it
you know,
already, I mean, ideally, you know, if the Neo Gamma is connected to OpenAI,
oh,
so
we're screwed.
Yeah.
so it's already using a model that theoretically has guardrails and knows about, you know, don't kill your owner.
Yeah, kill the neighbor, not your owner. Right? That's great.
Right,
That's awesome.
right.
Now, if you can walk the dog, that's what a great dog sitting job. Like, you know, you leave town, the robot can take care of the dog for 3 days. That would be
You don't want
cool.
to put the dog sitters out of work, do you?
Hey, we're putting everybody else out of work. I'm going to put the dog sitters out of work.
Yeah,
But I
right,
mean,
right.
like, if down the road, think about it though. If your robot is like Bicentennial Man, which is what, remember Robin Williams played a robot in Bicentennial Man? You guys are too young
I
for
mean, I
that movie.
remember
Anyway,
that
look it up.
movie, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, okay. So, but if your robot is like that character, and it can do that, or iRobot, where they were the same, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever my robot's name is, you're going away for 3 days, and the dog and you get along.
Yeah.
And if you can take care, feed the dog, take the dog for walks, do the same, why not? I mean, that's what's going to happen. And here's the sad part of what I just said, because now I'm taking it to the next level,
All right.
where people are giving their children, this is their babysitter,
Yes,
or their
that's a
iPad.
disaster. Yeah.
The robot now, in 10 years, maybe sooner, but we'll just say 10 years, is going to be the new babysitter. So
Right.
if that's the case, you better program this thing up so kids learn and not play
Yeah.
video games and not do this, and maybe teach it, I don't know, history, teach it mathematics,
Yeah,
teach
that
it
would be
mechanics,
nice.
teach civics, teach it to be ladies and
I mean,
gentlemen, and
they
maybe
said
teach it.
tutoring. They said the thing would tutor. That's part of it.
Yeah. Tutor
I
what?
mean,
What they
yeah,
put
but
in or what we want put in?
what kind
Yeah.
of tutoring? Yeah, yeah.
If you can, if I can ask you a question, or you can teach me, like, just say I don't have kids, but if I did, I say, I want you to teach my kids at home. And it can teach you from home, but teach you real history, real math, not the bullshit they teach today where these kids don't know crap. And because it
Yeah.
can pull from all the knowledge in the world, from the way back
Yeah.
to wherever, then I'd be like, now that's awesome. Not trying to get rid of teachers. Don't send cards and letters. If you do, send them to John. But that would be cool. But babysitting, that's where it's going to go. It's going to go, oh, you can babysit the kids. Oh, maybe you can teach the kids. Maybe you can blah, 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 blah. So since we're getting rid of the Department of Education, maybe these will be things that, they'll teach them, like really teach. Since
I mean,
apparently,
the paradigm of education is definitely changing with AI. I mean, kids are already using it. I mean, I've heard stories of the more the wiser kids who are using AI to actually have it teach them things. Now, of course, there are always the stories of people cheating and students,
right.
just outright having the AI so-called do your work. But the people who are smart about it are actually using it to really explore topics pretty deeply and understand. So now you're putting that in a robot form. You've got the ability to have almost one-on-one learning for every student or every person who wants to learn from your own robot AI.
Now,
I like it.
You know, Harvard is offering a remedial math course. Like,
Remedial math course at Harvard?
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
for their students,
yeah.
because their
So,
students don't know math.
you know, which is kind of, uh, I don't know if troubling or bizarre,
Concerning,
or
yeah,
what do you want to
definitely.
Yeah.
call it, but that how come you're getting into Harvard and you need a remedial math course? I mean, you're paying
Right.
a lot of money anyway, but I mean, why? I mean, it's a sad
Because you're
state of
not
affairs
smart. Daddy built a building.
if the smartest people need a remedial math course. But
John, just because
Yeah.
you're in Harvard doesn't mean you're smart. That just means mommy or daddy built a building or donated a couple million and they're putting you in. Let's not think that you go to Harvard, Yale, or these schools and you're also the smartest kid. I know people that went to these so-called smart schools and they're dumber than a box of rocks. I wouldn't let them balance a checkbook. And I met
Oh
other
no.
kids that go to state schools that are smarter than a lot of them. Now that's starting to change with the DEI thing that Trump kicked out, which could be good or bad. We'll see. But like, no, there's no more like favoritism stuff. It's not like when you go to Oxford or one of those or Cambridge, you
Right.
really
They're
have
just
to be
gonna let you
smart.
in without
Right.
knowing the knowledge.
Right. Yale and the rest of these schools and Harvard and Stanford and the rest of it, they're bullshit. If my kid's an idiot, great. You saw the movie stars, right? You'll play sports or you'll write a check. They'll let them in. And I think it's a shame that, people don't realize that just because you went to a university doesn't mean you're the smartest stool in the shed. There's some schools you have to be. But a lot of these schools nowadays, the last 20 years is just BS. Like when someone says, I went to so-and-so, I'm like, I don't really care. You're an idiot. So, I'm glad someone took your SAT scores because there's no way you got in. So
yeah,
yeah, no, I have a problem with that. So that,
yeah,
I don't think I think some of the people at Harvard are probably very smart. I think the rest of them are just a bunch of idiots. And those postcards you can send to David on his yacht in the Mediterranean.
Wow.
So, but
Well,
yeah, no.
how is AI changing competitive corporate espionage? I mean, I bring
Ooh,
that up because it's this rippling that financial company worth about $12 billion supposedly
mhm.
says that they got ripped off by somebody who was actually spying on behalf of a competitor.
That was the
Um,
Russian guy.
yeah.
No, there's a whole documentary on that deal. He's a Russian spy and everything.
Okay, I didn't know
Is
that.
this
Didn't
is
know
this the
that.
company? Just a company out of Germany, right?
Deal, yeah, Deal is no. I don't know that Deal is in
Is it
UK.
Germany.
I
Deal or
thought
Rip? Because there's two of them.
I thought it was in the UK.
Well, it's either UK or Germany, and it's the Financial Times has run about 5 or 7 what they call big stories, which is like
Mhm.
30 pages long. It's fascinating read. The one guy that was a CEO or COO was basically a GRU agent. There's espionage. There's government
Yeah,
espionage,
this is a
corporate
different
espionage.
company,
Okay, because we say, and then there's a documentary on it, and it's just like, wow, that was really cool. So,
different
Yeah,
company,
which one are you
and
talking
they're
about?
denying it. Of course, Deal is denying it. Of course,
Right. Oh yeah, Deal isn't the one I'm talking about.
no, no.
yeah. I thought it was in the UK, isn't it? The two HR companies, UK or Ireland, if not, I'm not mistaken.
The one I'm talking about,
Yeah,
they're in the UK.
yeah. No, I think Deal. I think Deal was the Ireland one.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's just
I mean, they. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure.
We'll table the corporate espionage for
We'll
later
table
then.
the corporate espionage, but I mean, but the idea of it is that you've got what happens when you have robots
Yeah.
inside organizations working alongside people, and somebody could just easily hack the robot
Yeah.
and have complete oversight in term everything that you interact with it.
That goes to the
yeah,
video David sent us all a while ago, which I don't think we ever played on air. If we can find it, we'll do it maybe next week. But two robot companies were saying it would be really cool to see if their robots can make the other robots leave and follow them. And they
Yeah, that
literally,
happened in China.
yeah, they videoed it. And
Yeah,
David sent us the video and they watched it. One set of robots went over and said, you should strike and get away from your blah, blah, blah. And the other
yeah,
robot's
he
like,
was able
okay.
to
And they
make
just
them do it.
and they
Yeah,
followed them out. So I don't think if using AI is actually easy. Someone sent me a thing the other day. It says, hey, listen, if you want to know about your competitor and their website and their numbers, just type in da 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 to your AI, and your AI will tell you everything because it'll go in and find it. So I don't know if it's going to be, if you want to call it corporate espionage, or if it's just outthinking your competitor with technology. Now, stealing secrets, that's corporate espionage. So
yeah,
to your point, if I'm a North Korean hacker, we'll pick on missile boy for a little bit.
Missile boy, yeah, sure.
If I'm a North Korean hacker and I want to know how to make Krispy Kreme donuts because he looks like he hasn't missed any, then all of a sudden I can, the robots are there, let's say making donuts, or they're the CEO's executive assistant or whatever it is. All of a sudden now I know that because I can hack it in. So you can extrapolate that to whatever industry. But yeah, I mean, unless there's safeguard upon safeguard upon safeguard, but the United States get hacked all the time by 14-year-olds, and we supposedly have safeguards. So I think
Look,
it's, you're just inviting the trouble, and it is what it
yeah,
is.
when I was in grad school, one of my classmates was chief technology officer for a company called Cadence Design. They're like, at the time, probably 2 or 3 companies that have developed the software for chip design, right? So he told the story of a Chinese employee that they had, and he quit one day, and the next thing, a couple of months later, a competitor emerged in China with basically their software, the exact same software that they designed for chip manufacturing.
Mhm.
And I mean, it was so obvious. He said it took 10 years to shut down that company and get I guess the judgment and the whole process to reverse that theft. But what he said was that it's extremely difficult to be successful in a corporate espionage case even when you have the proof like these guys had. And so it's a real big problem that's been around for a long time. Right now, the Chinese have copied everything, and now they probably don't need as much, but they're still stealing big time.
Right, it's still happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine. Steve talks about BYD and the new battery. I'm sure they stole a whole bunch of stuff when
From who?
they said, "Yeah, come on in, Tesla." Right? They did.
Well, Tesla and them have a JV agreement, actually. I think Tesla's
Well,
trying to steal stuff from
Well, that's
BYD.
how you do it, right?
yeah, but where was it? I read about a case where a Chinese company was worried here about doing I think it was BYD or one of those setting up a factory here in the US, and they were worried about technology transfer, which I thought was ironic that a Chinese company is now worried that we're going to steal their technology. But hey, it's about time that we did that.
But not every Chinese company is out to steal our technology, just like not every US company is trying to steal Chinese technology. There are a few that are like legitimate. Look at us, we're a real company. Boom. So, you can't say it's 100%. I mean,
No, it's not
granted, this
100%, but it's like 99.99 if it's in the
still
interest
not
of the
100.
CCP.
Still,
Don't give me that line.
I can't help it, John. They pay me.
Yeah,
I'm all for I'm all for Xi and the pandas. I love them. Now
I
they're human
mean,
rights I don't love, but there you go.
industry after industry after industry, chemical industry, all the key industries that you see now, China, it's being successful is because they stole all the core technology from the West. I mean, it's just Japanese
Well,
could have done
hopefully you
that
can't
too.
really. Hopefully you
So,
can't steal your way to the top.
Really?
but
Because they're all doing it. Look at the little
I
South
mean,
African guy who's the president of the United States. Anyway, enough about that. So we'll see what happens. Do
and
we do
also,
some lost and found? Wait, go ahead, John.
yeah, no, they do now they use the product and the pricing to completely destroy you as a company, right? So they'll undersell you at below cost for as long as they want to, because the Chinese government supports them, and they'll just drive you out of business. And that's the MO.
Now that is capitalism. So kudos to
No,
them to figure it
it's
out.
not capitalism when you got the state financially
Still
supporting.
Right,
capitalism.
the state is financing it.
Yeah, I got it. I know what I actually understood everything you said. I do have a degree, several of them. That's capitalism, boys. They just outsmarted us because the government says, like I said, and I've said this before, Mao was a communist with his little red book and his Cultural Revolution. Deng Xiaoping, when Mao died, was a capitalist. And if you read any history books
He
about
was,
him, and I
yes.
have, he's a capitalist. So China
They're
may be
erasing
a
him too,
communist.
though, in the history books.
Well, he's not. I'm writing him, so no. But
Yeah, yeah.
Xi Jinping is a capitalist. China is a capitalistic society. I know Xi doesn't like to be called Panda, but Mr. Panda is a capitalist slash communist slash socialist. But at the end of the day, China is a big capitalist society. And the fact that they can screw us, and they also hold like $1 trillion worth of our treasury, let's hope they don't call those in, they're not stupid. So you have to
No.
say, we have to look at that as a country, not kind of how Trump is doing it, like being a mafia boss, but we have to look at that and go, how do we counter that? How do we help our businesses?
Yeah,
How do we do
that's
this?
right. How do you truly innovate
Right.
in a fair trade marketplace as opposed to a free trade marketplace?
Right. And that goes very well back to the very beginning of the show where we're saying CEOs and boards need to
Yeah, they
think
need to do it.
futuristic, our future, not next quarter. And until they do that, China, I'm not going to say Russia because Russia just has oil, which they can do a lot with, but China, Taiwan, all these countries, even Canada, Mexico, whatever, they'll beat us. And Trump can put all the tariffs he wants. All he's going to do is hurt the people here, as Michael Collins explained in one of the shorts that's out, that's doing very well, by the way. I'm gonna be like, it's the best short ever, the biggest short on YouTube. Anyway, but it's until people wake up and realize that you can do all this crap, you're just going to hurt the 300 million people in the country. The companies have to now say, okay, this is how we can go forward, and then get the government to help. That would be, as we say, more better. And they can still try to do their government cuts. I mean, it'd be nice if they did legit ones and not keep having to rehire everybody back that they fire, which is hysterical.
Heard about that.
Yeah, like every other day in one of the papers, it's like, oh, and they had to hire back this group, hire back, like just guys, A through Z, not A through D. That's how it works. Just letting you know. And yeah, they're all stupid. And until we get some smart people, we're going to have these problems for a while. But the companies in the United States need to think long term, not short term. They need to start conditioning their shareholders, the financial analysts, and Wall Street to think like that. Think like Asia. Think like Japan and China. Not think like a U.S. person that today's Monday. By Tuesday, if it doesn't happen, we're all going to die. So until you start doing that, you're going to be SOL. What do I know? But that's what I would do.
Well, ready for Lost and Found?
Sure, why not?
Ever wonder how millions vanish into thin air, or how a single dollar can make all the difference? Join us on Lost and Found, where we dive into the wild world of financial mysteries. From misplaced fortunes to unexpected windfalls, we unravel the stories of people, companies, organizations, and even governments who've lost and found millions. Lost and Found, because every dollar has a story.
And we is here. All right, John, why don't you go first?
All right. So, Greenpeace was ordered to pay $660 million for defaming the oil company Energy Transfer over their pipeline back a couple of years ago. So that's a pretty big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a defamation lawsuit. That's what it was.
Yeah, defamation lawsuit. But the lawsuit also, was because they also desecrated tribal land in the process of doing that. That's what they said. So basically, Greenpeace said, this energy company desecrated tribal, I don't know what you call it.
Indigenous people's lands.
Right. Indigenous people's lands, burials ground and culturally significant sites during the construction, and it's a catastrophic for the climate. and kind of killed the whole project. Cost a lot of money and jobs. And anyway, the company sued, and they've won. And Greenpeace, I think he's going to declare bankruptcy because of this. But I'm
I think
not sure.
Greenpeace will whatchamacallit, they'll appeal it, and they'll appeal it again, appeal it again, appeal it again. This is I don't think it's over yet.
It might not be over, but it's going to cost them a lot of money in legal fees. So, we'll see. I'm sure they'll appeal, but I don't know. I think it's a win for the energy
Oil
company.
You think? They'll never get the money, but they'll put Greenpeace out of business.
I don't know when they'll get the money, but it might take another 20 years. But maybe they'll cut a deal, because I think the people that make the money here are the lawyers always.
Yes, lawyers always do well. Yeah.
Yeah. Although it takes them a while to collect, because it's not like they collect on a daily basis.
Oh, every 30 days they send you a bill, John.
Yeah.
That's how it works. You pay them a retainer, and a retainer's out every 30 days. You start getting a new bill. So, but yeah, welcome to the real world. All right, I'm going to do two, and then I'm going to let Michael do his.
All right.
First of all, let me do mine, and Michael goes last. All right, BYD, talking about the new battery. As we all know, they have batteries that do about anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 kilometers. They've invented a new battery that in 5 minutes can charge your car 400 kilometers. So,
Okay.
and the article that's significant, because most cars in America only on an electric charge go 400 kilometers. So basically, with their new charging,
you want 400 miles on a gas vehicle,
right? But 400 kilometers is about what, 360? If you
no,
want
it's like
240,
250 miles or something.
not bad if you need a 5-minute quick charge, right? So BYD again is kicking butt. And no, John, they didn't steal the technology from anybody. They invented it. Something they also have called GoldenEye, which is sort of like Tesla's self-driving, but theirs actually works. They're putting it on all their cars, all their whatever, and people are like I said, I wish BYD was in America, because I would be buying their stuff left and right. So BYD, if you need to do a deal with Ford, General Motors, or you just want to come over, let us know. For $10 billion, Donnie will shake your hands. He already said that. And finally, that was from the FT. The Economist. This is great. American politics prompts some Chinese to explore historical taboos. There's a gentleman in The Economist that is comparing Donald Trump and Elon Musk to Mao and his wife, because of the Cultural Revolution. They're comparing, because of what Elon's doing with his ex and all this other crap, to Mao's wife with the Cultural Revolution, and what Donald's doing, they're comparing him to Mao under turning the country, if you will, into a cult and whatever. It's very fascinating reading The Economist. If you get it, I would just read it.
I mean, The Economist is publishing that kind of tripe. I mean, come on.
It's very well thought out.
That concept, I mean, that comparison is, I mean, let it stand on its own. Comparing him to Mao is, I think, a little dramatic.
I liked it. I thought it was very good. And there's a lot of points they bring out, and it's like, that's interesting. That's interesting. And I'm not saying he's as smart as Mao. I'm just saying they're comparing him to Mao. And I was like, all right, cool. So I thought it was a very interesting, well-placed article. So there you go. But the BYD thing is the one that fascinated me the most. So I would love BYD to come on the show. What, John?
They've gone down the tubes with that kind of stuff.
Oh my God! Seriously, John doesn't agree.
Was that a lost or found?
For The Economist and for BYD, it's definitely a found. For The Economist, I think it's just an FYI.
Yeah, it's an FYI. All right,
it's an FYI. It's nothing. It's no lost or found there.
And I've got an FYI too. It's an FYI. Okay. I don't know if it's a win or a loss, but Clearview AI, which is a company that has for years collected photos from Facebook and social media networks, so that it's social networks, so that it can identify people for law enforcement.
Right.
They're facing an quote unquote from 404media.co, facing an uncertain future after a barrage of lawsuits against the company and fines from regulators build up from across the globe. Because they're not only looking for photos, but now they're trying to get emails and social security numbers and create this massive database.
Big brother.
Yeah, well, that's something that seems to be happening. So there was the allegation that they were not proven. I see, but not proven, that they were also trying to purchase social security numbers and location data. So um, governments are looking into this because should private companies have all of these, have all of these massive databases? Although
Yeah, they
you
already
argue that they already do.
I was gonna
So,
say, your credit card company, your bank, they already do. It's no big deal. Let's just give it up. I know India is trying to come up with new identifiers for their citizens. No more social security numbers, if you will, more of a facial, whatever. So everything now will be that. So I'm like, it's just as bad. So at
yeah,
some point, I'm just waiting for where it's the DNA punches the blood and goes, "Yep, it's really you," and then that's it.
right, right.
I will give you some breaking news because we're our live show. Breaking news: fire near London Heathrow Airport throws global travel into disarray. Apparently, there's a fire and
Oh
planes
boy,
can't land or take off. So if you're traveling globally today, kids, you're SOL if you're going to try to go through Heathrow.
I
So there you
avoid
go.
Yeah,
Heathrow at all costs anyway.
I love Heathrow. We're used to
yeah.
flying it out of Gatwick, but I love when I go to Heathrow because it's just like it's the best. So I don't know.
You
What
know,
can, I don't know.
I forgot to mention the premiere of New South Wales, which
Yeah.
is in Australia. I don't know. It just worries me when people like this get in office. He said that free speech, like in America, is
Hmm.
incompatible with a multicultural society. you know,
What?
He's an
it
idiot.
just boggles the mind. I mean, my God,
Wow, wow.
I guess
Free,
if we
so
offend
free
somebody,
speech. Yeah,
we're not going to have cohesion. I mean, it's just,
yeah. If you're actually able to say what's on your mind, you're not able
yeah,
to have cohesion. Is that
Well,
the
that's what
yeah.
problem?
that's what Donnie wants to kill. Donnie wants to kill that you can't make fun of the president. I'm like, oh, good. We'll just be like Russia.
No,
We'll be
people
like
make fun of
Thailand,
him all the
whatever.
time. You didn't put
No, no,
anybody in
he wants
jail
he
for
wants to
that.
kill that part of it. And the Tesla protests that were last week, the attorney general said they were going to put them in jail. And people were like, what about the First Amendment? And they backed down from that. Oh no, it's 1930, kids. I know you don't want to believe
Well, I
me,
don't
but
know
when it's
about.
too late,
I mean, but First Amendment
Burning
right is
places
not
up
to
is
burn
not
down a
free
building.
speech.
huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Throwing Molotov cocktails
yeah.
Oh no, I
Violent
don't know.
violence
buildings
is not
is
free
not
No,
free
I'm not,
speech.
no
speech.
violence. There was people protesting outside Tesla
Yeah, yeah, but
things.
there were people doing violent things. Those
Oh,
people
violent
need to
things you
get
go to
arrested.
jail for. No, I agree 100% you go to jail. But the best part about Tesla, the Cybertruck, 46,000 of them got recalled because the
Anyway,
plastic thing that we talked about kept flying off, is finally flying off. And they're all like, oh, that's not good. And everybody that made a YouTube video about their Tesla that was literally pulling it off because it wasn't glued on properly was trying to
oh
tell them that
no,
for the last year and a half. So they just recalled 46,000
that's a
Cybertrucks.
lot of Cybertrucks.
Well, yeah, people, it is what it is. If you're going to buy a toy, this is what happens. So that's it. Boys, it was fun. We should do this next
Yeah,
Friday.
good run. Yeah, exactly.
So for you
Uh,
people that are listening on the podcast, every Saturday we put out the podcast and the rebroadcast of the show. Fridays we're live. If you want to ask questions or be a guest, let us know. And other than that, don't forget to subscribe and like. Any other thoughts before we go, gentlemen? Do we have a guest next week or is it just the three of us?
It's the three of us. Three
Sorry,
of us
people.
gentlemen. All right.
maybe David.
No, David's going to be on a
Not
yacht
David.
cruising probably for a while now. He's a rich guy now. He doesn't have to, he married a 20-year-old who's a YouTube sensation. And so now he's
Sure.
living the high life. So there you
Uh,
go. Anyway, we'll
okay.
see you guys all. We'll see you all next week. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Cheers, everybody.